Welcome, everybody, to Common Sense, the podcast today. We've got a special guest for you guys. Good friend of mine, someone who has worked his way up in the multifamily industry. And, I mean, I can't think of someone that's earned as much recognition lately, especially for him, for outstanding work and just being such a contributor in the industry. So today, you guys, I've got Mr. Jimmy McClung with us. He is the Maintenance Support Supervisor at Luma Residential. He was recently named Member of the Year by the Fort Worth Apartment Association. He's CAMT-certified and one of their very passionate instructors. And now he's here to share his journey with us for the first time on the podcast. So, Jimmy, thank you for coming out, man. It's good to have you on the show finally.
Yeah, thank you, Garrett. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
It took a while, but we finally got in.
We made it work.
We made it work.
Yeah.
Took a few times. But
yeah. Plus, he thought I was like trying to go incognito on him. He hadn't seen me since I shaved the beard, and yeah.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, that's what I've been doing pretty much today is teaching CAMT. So I come, straight from Fort Worth all the way over here to be with you. So
right on, man.
Cool.
Well, we appreciate you coming out.
You bet.
For those that don't know who you are, can you give everybody a little bit of background, where you're from, where you grew up, how you got into the industry, just kind of start us out?
Well, that's a long story, Garrett. So we can kind of get started.
You can give us
on
the Cliff Notes.
Honestly, I grew up in Oklahoma.
What part?
Paradise Valley, Oklahoma. It's right outside of Lawton, just a little bit around the Wichita Mountains.
Yeah, I'm from Claremore.
And in that area, I grew up on a dairy farm there. So.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. So my family, all my family had dairy farms in that area, and I pretty much spent my whole life, milking cows and hauling hay and driving tractors and raising cattle. Just farm life, We lived about 30 miles from town and didn't go into town too much because, we kept everything we needed right there on the farm. So going into town was really, really fun whenever we got to see people.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much what I did for 27 to about 28 years of my life is what I did. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Baling hay is one of the worst jobs I've ever done. That is a true pain.
Cutting hay,
laying irrigation cattle. Also really sucks.
Yeah, we didn't have to do a lot of irrigation. I mean, we farmed about 2,000 acres there of alfalfa and Sudan and wheat and just prairie grass, and we did hay way before they had the round bale thing, right? Big round bales. We did all square bales. So I think when I first started really hauling hay, my dad would pay me like a penny a bale, and I could roll them, right? And I was about 7 or 8 years old, but I could roll that hay, and he paid me like I said, a penny a bale, so I could make about 10 cents a day. But back then, when I got 10 cents a day, and he'd hand me that dime, I could go to the store. And I could get a big sack of candy, for 10 cents.
Yeah.
It was fun, so it was worth it,
I don't know if you could talk me into baling hay for 10 cents a day.
Yeah.
I don't think you talk me into that. That is literally one of the hardest jobs I ever had working on the farm. Like that was not fun.
Right.
Well, what got you into the maintenance and then into the multifamily world?
Oh my goodness! So dairy farming, and it become way too more expensive to run a farm because feed and stuff got high. You wasn't getting enough for the milk as you was getting for the feed, and so my dad kind of sold out of the dairy business. We went into the Hereford business for a while, and then we kind of kept the Herefords and kind of got into the Angora goat business for a while. We bought like 3,000 Angora goats and sheared mohair for a while and redid all of the fences and did that. And then kind of got into the ostrich business and maybe the boar goat, all that exotic stuff. Remember when all the exotic stuff was really big and everything? Yeah, the ostrich diminution. So kind of did that for another year or so. And then I ended up moving to East Texas, to Lufkin, Texas. And had a welding truck, welding rig, and because I did a lot of welding on the side and stuff. Had a lot of welding business there in Oklahoma, and I brought that with me. And things weren't really gelling in that part because I didn't know a lot of people, right? So
Yeah.
I knew a friend of ours there in Lufkin. Whenever I moved there, said, "Hey, I know somebody that's hiring. Do you want to go to work there?" And I was like, "Well, what do they do?" And they go, "Well, the man owns some houses, and he owns some apartments, and he owned a lot of other government buildings like Texas State Lottery, Comptroller, Commission for the Blind, Texas Rehab, and all these different buildings." And I said, "Sure, why not?" So I went down to interview the guy and sat there for a minute, and he goes, "Can you change out a faucet?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Can you change out this faucet?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean, I grew up on a farm, but have you ever changed one?" And I was like, "Well, no, not really. All of our faucets there lasted the whole time I can remember from the time I was born. We never had to replace one."
Yeah.
I said, "But sure, I can do that." Because growing up on a farm, you learn to do a lot of things, right? So I just took the faucet and put it in and kind of got started in the industry right then in 1989. I changed out a faucet and took off doing that and worked for him several years, worked for the guy that owned all of that stuff and did a lot of projects, rebuilt a lot of government facilities for him. And then I kind of got into the HVAC business with another guy because the guy that was working for him doing the HVAC, I just kind of started helping him. So then I kind of got into the HVAC business with that guy, still worked for him, doing the HVAC on the side, right? And so that kind of trucked along till 2014, 2015. So that was, 10, 12, 13 years. I'd kind of been doing that part of it. So moving on from there, my daughter lived with me at that time. She was 15 years old, 16, and wanted to move in with her dad. And I was like, wow, this girl's turning 16. What am I going to do? I got to figure out some way. I got to get some kind of subsidy here. I got to figure out how I'm going to support her, how I'm going to support me, and all of that, right?
Yeah.
So sitting there one day, and somebody told me, they said, well, so back in the day, they used to give you a free apartment, right?
Uh-huh.
So I just started looking through phone books there in Little Lufkin, Texas, right? Found this ad that said, "We're hiring." And I called, and the newspaper, it was a newspaper ad. It was one of them, they didn't want you to call them, but it was like a newspaper ad. So I just started calling all the apartment communities because I knew I wasn't going to get nobody. So I ended up, about the third apartment community I called was an apartment community that was Deerwood. It was called Deerwood Apartments in Lufkin, Texas.
Okay.
And so the little girl, leasing girl, answered the phone. I said, "Are you hiring?" And she goes, "Sure, we're hiring," which she wasn't really supposed to tell nobody that. And I said, "Okay, thanks," and hung up the phone. And I just drove up there, walked in the door. "Oh, I hear y'all's hiring." And they said, "Well, what can you do?" And I give them my back history on what I'd been doing, air conditioning, other company, and so on like that. And they go, "Well, okay, here's your keys. You start work tomorrow." And so the air conditioning company I was working with told them that I was going there and starting to work there. And the other guy, I kind of did some side work for him still, and the air conditioning company, I worked for them still a little bit too. But I started in the apartment industry at Deerwood Apartments in Lufkin, and they give me a free apartment, and I was making a whole, like $11 and something an hour.
There you
when
go.
all of that started, right? So it was awesome. Yeah, it was great. And then in 2006, believe it or not, Luma Residential out of Dallas, based out of Dallas, Texas,
Yep.
bought Deerwood and the sister property there, Deer Cross. And they bought those property, and that's how I got started with Luma Residential, and pretty much how I ended up with you here today. So,
That's awesome, man.
yeah, there's a lot more to it, but I try to cut it as short as I can.
That's an interesting path from dairy farmer to just not being willing to say no and try to figure something out, and then that becoming a whole career.
Yeah, it's the multifamily industry is very interesting. You know, you get to meet people, lots of people, solve a lot of problems, which I love doing. It's very rewarding whenever you can change somebody's, you know, the way that they look at things about where they're living, you know,
Yeah.
and you can make them appreciate that you're there to take care of them, and they understand that. So it's a very rewarding, multifamily is a very rewarding industry.
Absolutely. I love doing like the amenity, when they like to do the amenity upgrades and like really creating a whole new space that they get it and just get to see that come together from like this little old room that was, you know, an old rundown fitness center or whatever.
Yeah.
And totally revamping it. That's always super rewarding to get to see that.
Right. So you do a lot of that construction and reconstructing in that part.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what do you think were maybe some of the key moments early on in your career that made you realize this was the industry that you wanted to stay and have a future in?
Oh, probably the people working with people, fixing problems for people, making people happy, making people feel at home,
Yeah.
seeing smiles on their faces whenever you could fix something that somebody else really couldn't, you know? So I think people in general is what really made me successful in this, is just that passion of fixing things for people. I think so, because I like to fix stuff. That's what I like to do.
Yeah. Well, like any journey in any job, there's always challenges. What were maybe some of the bigger obstacles that you faced early on in your career, and how did you turn that into like a learning opportunity?
So I never was really afraid to jump into anything. You know, like some of the bigger obstacles, that's a tough question. I really never thought about that, Garrett. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to grow in the industry. And, you know, making people, I guess one of the hardest obstacles sometimes is making people believe in you and what you can do, right? Mm-hmm. Because when you're just kind of starting out in this, it's always hard. It's just like people I work with today, is they have a passion for the business. And it's hard for them sometimes to get maybe recognition that they really need to keep going. You know, some people need more motivators. Some people need less motivators. Some people need more recognition. Some people need less recognition, right?
Yeah.
You know, it just...
Some people need confirmation.
They need
Some
confirmation.
people need just the pat on the back or the good job.
And you know, that was always me. That's pretty much all. I mean, you know, you could tell me good job ever so often. Shit, I was good to go, right?
Yeah.
Because I like to, you know, I like to work, and I like to work with my hands, and then you start doing that for people, and there's something about it that you just can't stop. You just, you know, you get a passion for it. So,
Yeah.
And maintenance people and guys that work in maintenance, you get such a passion for those people because they work so hard every single day. You know, so I hope that answered kind
No,
of
it does. I mean, I just hearing you say that and thinking about some of the things that you're so passionate about. Like, I mean, you got, you know, did the whole CAMT thing. We've already kind of mentioned that. Maybe you can tell everybody a little bit more about what CAMT is and what got you down that path, because, I mean, I know you teach those classes. You're very passionate about it. I mean, your classes fill up really fast for these things.
Yeah.
And, like, people jump all over it. And, I mean, you hear people talk about you speaking at these things, like, all the time. And I'm sure that was a big part of the FAA awards and everything this year. So how did that approach to maintenance and doing that
So we could go back to... so in 2017 is January 1st, 2017 is when I took the current position that I'm in. Okay. like I said, I've been with Luma for 19 years, but in 2017 I took this current position. But prior to that, in Lufkin at Deer Cross and Deerwood Apartments, right, there was some people that within the corporate office that took a very good interest in me because they knew that I could teach people. There was just something about me. So they would take me off site from down there in Lufkin, and they would pull me into Dallas to teach new service managers. You know, I don't know everything. I don't claim to know everything, but when you're raised on a dairy farm,
Yeah.
you know, and you have a very strict grandfather and a very strict dad about the way things are done, you learn to do things right the first time.
Yeah.
You know, because you don't want to be told 2 times, right? Never.
Yeah. You don't want the second one.
You learn real quick to do things the first time. So I would leave the Lufkin area and I would come to Dallas to train new service managers or new service techs and things like that. And I trained, it's kind of a funny story that I always go back to and that I tell a lot of people, especially on-site teams, is that it started off like when I would go train, I'd be there 2 days in Dallas. Well, I would leave my team there, right? And I was their lead maintenance guy, right? So every night I would call, get with every one of them, check on them, this done, this done, this done, this done, right? And I stayed on them and stayed on them and stayed on them. Well, it finally got to a point to where, you know, I wouldn't have to call. They would start calling me and they would say, hey, we're done with this. Like, you know, you don't need to call me. We're done. We're done. And this went on for, probably 2 or 3 years that I did this training up there, and I'd drive back and had my team go there, do that, do what I did there, come back, be away from the guys. But the guys were so good at what they did because I was good at keeping a team because I appreciated that team, you know what?
Yeah.
And I'd show them. But they finally told me one day, I said, what's going on? Like, I come back, everything's done, everything's caught up, all the make readies are done, all the service requests are done, all your PMs are done, and all your reports are done. And they said, yeah. And I said, but y'all's doing so great, I don't really need to come back here. And they're like, exactly. Like, we're glad you're gone. Because there's one thing they would all say. They would say, Jimmy, they would say, you're a beep, but we love you. Right? Because I stayed on them and I made them work towards what they got. And when they finally figured out that if they did things right the first time, that nobody had to really bother them to ask them if their job was done every day. So I kind of take that as going all the way back into my life as the way I grew up and the way I structured them and took them job and doing the right thing is because the way that I was brought up to do the right job and the right thing, right? So then that's where I got into the training part. And that's kind of where I was going with the question that you just asked me, right? So it took me a minute to get there, but
you're good.
We're there. So that's whenever they finally, Luma actually created a position for me. They created a position for me. And in 2017, January 1 is when I started that position. And when I started that position, because I like doing training, I started getting more involved with the apartment industry. And don't get me wrong, in Lufkin and Nacogdoches, there's an apartment industry called Piney Woods Apartment Association. Like I was telling you, there's a lot of affiliates out there, and I kind of got in with them. And I was a delegate with them on TAA committees and different stuff like that. So I'd been to Texas Apartment Association and been in those committees, and I did some training, you know, with Piney Woods and stuff during that time. But then after I moved to Dallas, then obviously you got, you know, Apartment Association of Greater Dallas, and you got the Fort Worth Apartment Association, right? And
it's a lot to keep up with.
It's a lot to keep up with. You got TAA, you got NAA, you know, National Apartment Association, Texas Apartment Association, and I did a lot of stuff with all of those organizations, and just started training and had a passion for training. And they had asked me, they said, hey, you want to start teaching, right? So, because I taught in the small town, and they knew I had the ability, so the other associations knew that just from word of mouth and talking and visiting with people. So that's just kind of when I started training with the larger apartment. They said, you want to teach CAMT? Sure, I'll teach CAMT. How hard can it be? It's a book this thick, right? You know, my first time on it was pretty tough, but I got through it, and you know, have good pass rates with people, which is phenomenal. I think people. I make the classes enjoyable. I just don't sit there and talk at people. You got to make the people make the class. You don't want to sit there and just talk at people, right? Like,
that's never fun.
No, they're no fun. They start sleeping and they go all of that stuff. So,
God, I have to be here for these credit
hours. That's kind of how I ended up with it. So,
well, it sounds like you just have a genuine curiosity for like problem solving and fixing things, and that really, and just how you were raised and that mentality has just kind of led you down all these different paths. And
it has. I mean, you know, don't get me wrong. I've been down a lot of paths in my life, as a lot of people. You know, there's been struggles, and you know, you gotta work through all of that stuff, right, to get to where you want to go. Did I ever really know and ever think that I would be here?
Yeah.
No. Another thing that kind of really gets me is sometimes recognition. It's kind of like that last Fort Worth thing, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of like, I was like, you know, I've already just about the awards and different stuff throughout my life. You know, you kind of get to, you know, as you would a standstill with stuff like that. And that really surprised me with that one. That one blew me out of the water, because I was like, you know, it's time for other people. Like,
well, and your whole family got to be there to see you get that recognition. That had to be a powerful moment. I wish I could have been at that event, but I wasn't able to be there.
That would have been great.
But that had to be a big moment.
Yeah,
you know,
my wife was there, my kids was there, everybody was there. It was pretty shocking, because, you know, during that special moment, during that award, as I walked up on stage, like, I had no idea they were there. You know, and my wife helped put that together, and but I had no idea that my kids were there. And when I got up there on stage, I seen them, and for like a split second, you look around, because you're like, where am I at? you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't know if you've ever been in that moment. It was just like
struck.
It's just kind of struck.
Yeah,
you know. So it was pretty crazy. It was pretty wild. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Probably one of the one of the top moments in my life, right? As far as being recognized for something.
That's great,
like
man.
Yeah.
Well, as a maintenance support supervisor at Luma Residential, you're in charge of a crucial part of operations. Can you maybe walk us through what a typical day in your role now looks like, and what maybe the key responsibilities are for you now in this newer role?
Yeah, so, I'll walk you through a day.
What's a day in Jimmy's world look like?
A day in Jimmy's world is making sure, my number one job is to make sure that every service personnel that we have within our company knows that they're heading down a path for that they can learn more, and making sure that they know that they're scheduled for this class and they're scheduled for that class, and they're growing within our industry, and it motivates them, right? You know, keeping, our service managers, our lead people, like, those guys are like family, man. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, you've got a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in with them.
And so is the rest of them, and you want to keep everybody all the time. You don't never want anybody to go anywhere, and because they're so good at what they do, and just making sure that their processes and their procedures and the things that they're doing every day, they're staying on track with it and helping them stay on track with it. I'm not a micromanager, none whatsoever. I'm not. But if I see you lagging, I'm going to prod you a little bit, and I'm going to let you know. It's like I tell the guys all the time on property. I say, if you got a problem, you can call me at any time that you want to. And they go, yeah, but you're always busy. And I'm like, but that's my job. Like, you can call me anytime, and I'll tell them. And another thing people need, so like people, guys and girls that work on site that are in the maintenance field, they always need that person they can call. But they don't want that person they can call that's going to turn right back around and call their boss and say, hey, so-and-so just called me and they didn't know this, okay? So that's one thing I always promise them and make sure that they understand that they can reach out to me at any time, and just because they do and I help them through something, don't mean I'm going to call their boss to tell them, hey, so-and-so called me today, why didn't you teach them that?
So-and-so's an idiot.
I'm not going to call you out. I mean, I'm not going to do that to people. I'm going to try to teach them, and they're going to learn from it, and they're going to grow from it. I mean, obviously, if it's something critical, then you got to be critical, right?
But that's a big part of leadership.
Yeah, it's a big part of leadership, right? So, in leading people is, anybody can. And I think, being a coach, for years with my children, taught me a lot as well. So.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've really created an atmosphere where you're showing it through your leadership and through your training and through your communication that you're kind of blending their technical skills and their people skills and creating that accountability, and that they have clear goals and things that they're working towards. So it sounds like you've really been able to form that sense of unity and keep that in check with those things.
You can. It's a challenge, but you can do it. You got to learn people. Everybody's different. Like we was talking about a while ago, some people just need a pat on the back. Some people need recognition every week, right?
Yeah.
And you got to learn who those people are, and you just keep pushing forward and try to make the biggest, best team that you can, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What would maybe be something you would say in your experience is the most important trait for somebody in your field? Like, what do you think's like top for you? Like, is it that teaching aspect? Is it the communication aspect? Like, what?
So in the apartment industry, you have to, as far as what they need to learn.
Exactly.
So first, they got to know the trade, obviously. And anybody can learn a trade, right? Anybody can take and learn a trade. But you got to be able to learn how to communicate. And if you're not communicating and you don't know how to speak to people and you don't know how to be upfront with people and you don't know how to say things without rubbing people the wrong way, you're dealing with residents, right? The thing about residents is very, very simple process. With any type of resident that is unhappy, is that all they want to do is for you to resolve the problem, or they might just want 10 minutes of your time. Right? They might want 15 minutes of your time. And that's all they really, really want, is somebody to talk to, somebody to tell them how you're going to fix it, and tell them what you're going to do, and then you fix it. And then when you walk out the door, you're their biggest fan.
So how do you approach problem solving when things go wrong? Because I think that kind of feeds off the communication things. Because I know I'm constantly telling my guys the same thing, man. Communication is what we do better than our competition. The other GCs that we're all fighting for that certain amount of work in the space, and communication makes or break it. You got to pick up the phone and not send people to voicemail. You take the call, take the tough calls.
Yep.
Don't just send a text message or an email because it's a difficult conversation. Get on the phone or get face to face and be present.
So you just take it head on.
Yeah.
I mean, just go head on. But it's like you say, take the email, take the calls. There's times for emails and there's times for text. Yeah. I get emails and text all the time. I don't answer them back. You know what I do? I pick up the phone and I call you
Yeah.
because I don't want to answer you in a text. I don't want to answer you in an email because you're asking me a lot more than I can feed you back into that you're really not going to understand.
Yeah.
But if I can talk to you about it, you'll see it, and then you go, you have them aha moments, right? And Teams, text, email is always not the way, especially whenever you're dealing with, residents and stuff like that. You really need to be face to face with someone and talk to them about it. Be honest, right? Some people don't like being honest. They'll tell you Jimmy's the most brutally honest person you've ever met in your life because I don't hold back. If I feel like I got something to say and I'm going to say it, you might not like it, but I'm going to tell you. But by the time I'm done telling you, you will like it. Okay?
Fair enough.
It's called, you've had them sandwich moments in your life. You ever built one of those, right?
Yeah.
Start off good and take everything in the middle that's bad, and then you end up with something good at the end. So, that's one thing to always remember is never leave anything open.
So based on kind of what you've talked about so far and what you've told us and, and winning the award you won last year, like, what do you think maybe in your peers and other people in the organization, what do you think in their eyes really sets you up for this type of recognition and to win such an award?
Say that like...
What do you think in your peers' eyes, like, and the people that nominated you for this? Like, what do you think it is that really helped you stand apart compared to some of your other peers?
So, peers, so with your peers, what they think is already pretty much, if you're a genuine person and you most normally do what's expected, your peers pretty much already know and understand you, right? So
yeah.
Winning something like that, probably they're probably like, I mean, I don't know, I can't speak for none of them, but they're probably like, it was probably well deserved, right?
Yeah.
I don't look at things that way though. I don't see things that way. I don't expect anything.
Right.
So with it, I really don't know. That's kind of a hard question. What did they think? How did they think? And
I think more from the aspect of, like, if there was, I mean, I think you've kind of answered it too, just in the sense of, like, how you run your shop.
They appreciate me, don't get me wrong. I mean,
but you also give tough love and you're brutally honest and you confront things head on. Like,
yeah, and Luma Residential is, I'm sure, is very, and I know for a fact they're very, very far beyond proud of everything that I do.
Yeah.
And I do it, not only for me, but I also do it for Luma Residential, right?
Yeah, there's a great team of people over there that all support each other.
They all support each other and not doing it just for me, but doing it for the team and for the people, and it gives the other people on your team drive, right? It makes them want to go, I want to do that.
Yeah.
I can do that, right? And so it gives them motivation, right? And then it also makes other people in the industry go, hey, I want to go work over there. I want to go work with them people. And honestly, everybody wants to work for a good company, right?
Absolutely.
That cares about their people. They are family oriented. They show them recognition, and they appreciate them. And at the end of the day, all you got to do is appreciate people.
I mean, and that starts at the top at Luma. I mean, Ian is great about that. I mean, from Ian on down. I mean, it just. Yeah,
we've we did a lot of restructuring in our company, as you probably know, and Ian's great. He's always been a motivator for me.
Yeah.
Anita Horde is our new VP. She's been there for a couple of years. she's a great motivator. You know?
Anita's great.
Yeah, and
I used to work with her back at Pace.
did you really?
Yeah.
Did you really? Yeah. She's great. She really is. She's I like her a lot because she's real straightforward like me. She'll tell you exactly what she thinks.
There is no gray with her.
No, there's no gray area. And then Crystal Moya, we just hired on. She's great. She's I haven't, really got to know her yet, really good. But it's legislation year, and she's part of that TAA, and she's been doing a lot of that, which is very much appreciated.
That's all going on right now. There's a lot of people up at the Capitol.
Yeah. There's a lot of people there, and we appreciate them people there that's doing that for us because they're advocating for us and for the multifamily industry and everything that's going on, right? So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the multifamily industry isn't without its challenges. What's been a big challenge maybe that you've had, or obstacle that you've had to overcome, and how did you turn that into a learning experience?
Great challenge that I had to overcome.
I'm sure there's probably a serious one and a funny one.
I mean, if you think about it the way that I guess one of the bigger challenges for me didn't really last a whole long time, but like speaking in front of people.
Yeah.
Like I can get up, I would rather speak to 100 people than I would 5. The fuller the room, the better it is. I'm really good at that. Was probably
so impressive.
That's probably one of the biggest challenges that I ever do was to muster up that courage to speak to that many people.
It's usually people's biggest fear.
Yeah, it is, but once you do it, it becomes easier and easier and easier. Now, my other challenge is, like I'd spoken to you earlier, I'm great in front of people. It's like whenever the lights come on and the camera comes on, and that's where I kind of start going. Like I can't stand, like I do training videos, I cannot stand to listen to myself. If I start hearing myself, I'm like, turn it off.
Listening to yourself talk is hard, man.
Turn it off.
When we started the podcast, Biz used to send me home afterwards and be like, all right, go watch it. Go listen to yourself. And that was the most painful thing to do in the world, especially if I go back now. Like I was playing with like a new AI tool we have that does our clips into shorter videos. Mm-hmm. And I thought about like going and messing with one of the like year 1 episodes. And the minute I hit play on it, I was like, oh my God, I was so terrible. Like that was so bad. I can't even listen to myself right now.
That
me. That was horrible.
That's me. I can't.
Yeah.
I still can't do it to this day. Like I will probably, no offense.
Yeah.
But have such a hard time watching this podcast because I'll turn it on and I'll turn it back off and I'll turn it on and I'll turn it off.
You'll watch the clips.
I'll watch the clips. That's probably what I'll do. But that was probably one of my biggest challenges was, just getting in front of people and being confident.
How did you overcome that? Just trial and error, practice?
So there was one thing that I was taught growing up on the farm.
Okay.
And my grandfather always told me that can't, couldn't, because he wouldn't.
I like that.
Yeah.
Can't, couldn't, because he wouldn't.
Can't, couldn't, because he wouldn't. So, yeah. And I've always took that and just never said no, like never said no to a challenge.
Is that really what kind of built that resilience for you? Because, setbacks happen, problems happen. You really have that curiosity and problem-solving mindset. But then to stay motivated and resilient going through that can be a challenge. I mean, can you maybe think of something like that where something went wrong and it was maybe more of a challenge to stay motivated, stay resilient, but when you did, it was very rewarding? Was it the public speaking thing, or?
I mean, challenges are every day.
Yeah. But I mean, going from like not comfortable with speaking in front of 5 people, but you're comfortable in front of 100 people live is like completely backwards for most people.
It's supposed to be backwards.
It's not even 5 people that they have a hard time with. They can't even fathom 100 people, and you're like, nope, that's my comfort zone.
Well, just going through life and to where I am today, I can look back over my life.
Yeah.
And I can see that pretty much my whole life I've kind of done things backwards. I mean, I just have. It's kind of funny to think
You're
that
making
way.
all us Okies look bad now saying that.
I'm not making no Okies feel bad. I'm just trying to say that I look back at things and go, I should have did that 10 years ago. I should have did that 10 years ago because I could have if I would have just put my mind to it, right? And that's why I tell people and the people that I work with is you don't wait to get things done. Take it head on while it's right in front of you. Because if you don't take that opportunity at that moment, you're never going to know what the outcome would have been.
Absolutely.
Right? And I don't know, it's hard for me to give you an example of that. I can't think of one.
What does taking a risk look like to you? Like, what is taking a risk?
I took all of my risk between 15 and 21. Okay?
Okay.
And so between that 15 and 21 time period right there, I feel like I'm out of risk. So I really don't take any anymore. And,
okay.
And that's why I do things the way that I do them.
Yeah.
Is with confidence and take them straight in and head on, because I can look back. I mean, come on, Garrett, everybody has a past life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's things that I did in my life that I'm not going to sit here and even begin the story.
Right.
I do have one real passion left.
What's that?
To be able to get up in front of people and motivate people by starting at the very, very beginning of my life and tell people all those struggles. Because people go through struggles in life. Nobody does not go through types of struggles. I mean, I did things in my life just like anybody else that probably wasn't the best thing that I should have been doing at that time. But there was different struggles in my life that made things trigger those things.
Learning experiences.
Learning experiences. Losing people in your life at certain times of your life. It's never a great time.
True.
To lose anybody. But you don't ever know what people are going through whenever that happens. And you always have to think, I never was one of those that people were really worried about maybe what I was going through. You know what I mean? So I just kind of had to go.
You seem like you're one that's always worried about others more than yourself.
I'm always worried about other people.
Yeah.
I do. Because I learned not to really worry about myself so much years and years and years back. Like I did all
things
that.
That were outside of your control.
Things were outside of my control. Yeah. So, yeah.
That's interesting. So where do you want to take that goal of public speaking and motivating? Like what exactly do you want to do with that? I'm interested to hear this because I myself went and bombed a speaking engagement. I think we talked about this a little bit at the education conference, and it was so bad and I was so embarrassed that I legit went and signed up for the Eagle Rise Summit and went in with my good friend Jason Redmond and Erica Redmond, and they taught me the tricks of the trade and how to do all that stuff and to get up and speak in front of people. And man, that was game changing for me. Like, was it? Absolutely game changing.
How did it make you feel?
I mean, really great, because it was able to take off that burden of having that monkey on my back of bombing that other one, and knowing that if I prepare right and do these certain things and practice these things, that then becomes really easy and you can take it away. And some of the things we're just learning some different, this is still probably one of my favorite things I've been told or taught. I quote Jill Bunny a lot on this, because when I was there, she was a former Olympic volleyball player, I believe, and she's done a lot of other things, big marketing, branding company. and she said, she asked all of us when we first got there, and they told us, because we didn't really know we were going to be giving a TED talk basically for 15 minutes or whatever it was, and that it was going to be in a room full of a live random audience, like at their center on a stage, like.
But you do this.
Yeah.
So what was different?
Being in front, like, what was different was at the business exchange. Like, you know, now I'm on stage, standing on stage at a podium. I didn't prepare properly. I had 2 minutes to speak about the company, and I pretty much walked on. I had the plan to go on and tell a joke, and then just, like, you know, kind of give a little short spiel about Element. And on the way, while I was standing there in line, because I was about 2/3 of the way back out of the group of getting my turn to go on, everybody else, some of my competitors included, had these awesome videos playing in the background, and then they had, like, just a little thing they said, or maybe they talked the whole 2 minutes and had to get the horn blown at them to get off the stage.
Right.
And I was like, this is a terrible idea. All we're going to have is our logo on the background. We don't have any video. Oh, what am I going to do now? And then I was like, the joke's a bad idea. I shouldn't do this. This is going to go over bad.
Maybe.
Maybe not. But that's where I get stuck in my head. And then I was in this loop.
You got to go for it, man.
And I literally, like, walked on stage. I had 2 minutes, and I was like, yeah, I'm Garrett with Element. Been with Element for, you know, at the time, 16 years. You guys, most of you know me. We're full service GC. Happy to help you. Happy to talk to you. Looking forward to talk to you. And I, like, exited stage left.
And you were done.
And I was done. And I just bolted. I mean, I was sweating bullets. I thought I was going to pass out.
And now?
I could totally do that.
You wish you told the joke now?
No, I don't wish I told the joke. I wish I'd have prepared more, because actually my thought going into it was like, I do this every week.
Yeah.
I can talk to people for hours. We're on live. There's a camera right there.
You didn't have to tell me that.
Yeah. I mean, I just know it doesn't bother me.
It don't bother
I mean,
me.
I can just sit here and have a conversation.
Yeah.
But put me on a stage with a spotlight, and now I got to, like, sell or talk about something in front of all my peers, coworkers, colleagues, all this, and there's 1,200 people in the room. That was a whole different ball game.
See, that's easier for me.
Yeah.
The people are easier for me, because with the people, I can pull the people in to what I'm doing, right? I can make the people help me do what I'm trying to do for them.
Yeah.
So it's called engaging. You got to engage your audience, right?
Absolutely.
And you got to get them involved in what you're doing. And
yeah.
And learning how to do all that, it takes a little time, but
yeah,
get yourself out there more and get yourself in front of people more. I mean, you're in front of, I don't know, ain't no telling how many people on Facebook or whatever we're doing right now. It's no difference. The only thing difference, there's a human body. Somebody told me one time, they said, just get up there and picture everybody in their underwear.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
I thought, no, I really don't want to do that. I'm not going to get up there.
Yeah, no, I don't like that thought process either.
We're not doing that.
Yeah.
So don't try that, because it really doesn't work.
Yeah, so. But like I was saying about Jill Bunny, when they told us about this TED Talk that we had to do, she's like, so how are you guys feeling? You know, there's 10 or 12 of us in this room. She's like, so how do you feel about that? What are you feeling right now? And, like, several of us were, like, nervous, anxious. She's like, okay, let me give you this, like, reframe this in your mind. She's like, what's the difference between feeling nervous and feeling excited? She's like, there really is no difference. It's the same feeling. So when you start feeling nervous, you tell yourself, like, I'm not nervous, I'm excited. Yeah. And just changing that mindset and having that thought, that was huge. Because you do, I mean, I don't care, even though I've gotten on a few stages and done a few different things since then, that, like, second, once you know you're mic'd or whatever, or you're on the mic, you know, like, to getting there, that first 15, 20 seconds, yeah, you feel it. But just telling yourself, like, man, I'm not nervous. I'm excited. Like, it's a huge game changer. You got to get excited.
You got to move around. Yeah. Don't stiffen up. You know, all that. You know, the question you did ask me, I just kind of thought about something you said about what motivates you the most and stuff like that. And the more I sit here and think about it, and the more we talk, by the way, you're going to get over your fear, okay? So you just need to get out there and do more. Pretend you're in front of all these people. But, you know, my kids, you know, my children are motivators. You know, my 4 children are motivators. My wife is a big motivator that I have right now. You know, she wants me to do that, you know, get up there and tell your story, you know, do that. Why don't you do that, you know? So she motivates me too. So, you know, there's a lot of family that I have that do motivate me to do the things that I do every day. And the more you sit here and talk and you can think and you can say it's, you know, the people you work with and it's the people that you're with every day and the people that you talk to every day. But, you know, honestly, at the end of the day, you know, it's family really that if you really, really think about what you do every single day, you do it for your family. That's what
Absolutely.
You do, right? So
Absolutely. What's up, Brian Freeze and Paul? Our good buddy Paul Beckingham's on here.
Hey, Paul.
What did he ask? Ask Jimmy about his Longhorns. Paul wants to know about your Longhorns.
So, my Longhorns. Well, Paul, let me think. So, my wife's dad actually has those Longhorns, but me and my wife this year, we kind of bought into it a little bit with him, you know, and we kind of did the bull with the Longhorns. Longhorns are, as my wife says, the dumbest animals in the world. They're not. They're just cattle. Cattle are just cattle. Love Longhorns. Very interesting animals. They take great pictures.
Yeah, everybody wants a picture with a Longhorn.
They take really good pictures and they make great looking calves, right? So there's nothing like color in an animal, color in calves. Longhorns are, you know, they're a good breed of animal and they're good to have for just like a hobby type thing. You know, nobody really wants to eat them around me. Of course, the way I grew up, I'd take one and eat it in a second, right? But is that bad to say? Like I'm saying that? Like that's not bad, right? It's an animal. Like it's a
I don't think so.
Right? So, but anyway, Paul, Longhorns are they're enjoyable to watch. We do have one that's a cow. She's kind of a pain in the ass, Paul. She breaks the fence almost every other day, and
so we get the horns tangled up out there.
And I'd like to take her to the sale barn, but that hasn't happened yet because the cow don't belong to me. That belongs to my father-in-law. So he wants to keep her around for one more calf.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So with the speaking you want to do, what's the main message and what topics do you really want to like go after? Where do you want to take that?
So without giving it all away, it's kind of hard to tell you that, but it's about motivating younger people that could be struggling in life.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. This is something we've talked about a few times on the podcast, and it's something I think is an opportunity, and B, it's a severe problem we're going to be dealing with within our industries here really soon, is the lack of younger generations of skilled tradespeople. How do you see that affecting us in the next 5-10 years? And is that kind of maybe somewhere you're wanting to go with that, of like opening those doors, teaching about that? Because you've kind of gone down some of those trade paths. And
yeah, you know, just speaking out to the public about the younger generations that are out there. You know, if I had my way, every child that was born would spend 5 years on a farm before they ever got turned loose to do anything. But that's never going to happen, right? So,
not in today's world, I don't think.
I think it would be a good experience for anyone.
Yeah.
Part of it, just to learn a little bit of, common sense. But where it's going is, it's hard to find. It's not hard to find people, honestly. It's hard to find people that want to work, right? So the technology that we've given people these days, and especially with the younger generation, is what we've done is enabled them because they would rather spend more time on doing technical things than they would be working with their hands. And they need to bring back more trade colleges, like vocational schools. Like if I ever could, and if I knew how, and I've ever won the lottery and won $1 million, right? The first thing I would probably do with that would be build the largest trade school in Dallas-Fort Worth and start taking kids out of those high schools and bringing them into there and teaching them and making them learn that, there's trades out there that are really, really good. And that way we could pull more people, into the industry. Right now, I work with TCC a little bit over there and on the technical trades to where, we have some people out there that get scholarships to come into TCC, and we're teaching them air conditioning, and electrical and plumbing and all of that. And those guys, it's not a big class. It's 14 or 15 people, but we're teaching them people that. And they could be a homeless person. They could be just got out of the military. It could be anybody. And if they can qualify to get in there and get the grant, and we're teaching them, the trades, because we need more people in that industry. And so where do I see it going is, I really don't know. I know that over the next 10 to 15 years, I suspect, I don't know for 100%, but I suspect there's going to be a lot less people in the work field. And the way that I see that is that, a lot of things are going to become more centralized. And, you might have one person running 2 or 3 things.
Yeah.
3 or 4 people running 2 or 3 things.
Yeah.
Because if the workforce is not there, you've got to figure out something, right?
Yeah, I think the trades people are going to be demanding money, like the ones that can still do it and that can be that master plumber, master electrician, that expert high-end trim carpenter, the expert framer, the expert drywall, level 5 finish, the top tier painters, stuff like that. Like, they're going to be at a premium. I mean, like, they'll be making money like doctors and lawyers.
Well, and when you start speaking to contractors and those type of people that specify in certain jobs, like, there's so much for them for our industry, but what they have to turn around and understand is that we can't contract that. We can contract everything out that we do, and we could contract all of it from the beginning all the way to the end of it, right? But whenever you start doing that and you start having special trade specialties, HVAC and plumbing and all that, but they're wanting them top prices, right? And when they're wanting them top prices, the same as everybody else, then you really can't go that route. Like owners and investors, you just couldn't, right? I guess you could, but you'd have to still charge a hell of a lot more for rent than what you're charging right now. No offense to people. People have trades, and I get it. They get by, but the way that the industry and the way that these technical trade, the trade people, the HVAC contractors, the plumbing contractors, the way that they need to look at that is they need to look at things more of a preferred pricing aspect to where, like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We have 25 properties. You're going to be my plumber, you're going to be my HVAC guy, and you're going to be my electrician, and you're going to do all my make-readies, and you're going to come and clean my pool, and you're going to pick up the trash. You're going to clean my offices and my amenities, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you need to look at them and go, you're going to get to do this on all of that.
Yeah.
I don't want to pay you what you're paying up here. So can you take and you think about it that way? A lot of people think there's some people and, they want to make $1 million off one job, take a ski trip. They don't care if they get 3 jobs, 4 jobs after that, or 5 jobs, because that job's going to last them another 2 months.
Yeah.
And then you got people out there contractors that want to work, and they look at quantity, right? So, I would rather have one person doing everything on an HVAC side if they would just jump in and go, this is what we're going to charge you. Then how do they charge you different than they do somebody else? And that's kind of where the fine line comes in there, right?
Right.
I mean, so contracting is probably where a lot of it's going to go, and centralization. You're going to cut back on site, on staff, and you're going to be contracting a lot more out, and hopefully get some preferred pricing on that contracted out by giving them a quantity of work.
Yeah.
And making it happen like that.
I think that'll happen over the next few years. I don't think it's always going to be these getting 3 bids and, doing all this stuff. If you can go in and do a national contract or a portfolio contract like that too, I mean, even better. I mean, I'll always take more work at a little lower price than, just these short little hits. I mean, that small stuff adds up fast. I mean, just doing those small minimum repairs even, you got to do a little roof patch. You got to go do a little curb patch or sidewalk stuff. It's I'm not trying to...
It's cash flow. Do you want cash flow or flown cash?
Yeah.
Which one do you want? Flown cash is you make a bunch and you wait for the next one. Or do you just want constant cash flow? So that's the way people need to be looking at more.
Are there any other trends or tech things that you're paying attention to right now that you think is going to be a big factor here coming up that you're kind of following?
There is. There's a lot of technical stuff that's going on with centralization, and that could be coming down the pipeline. I think it's coming everywhere, like I was talking a while ago. I mean, there's different ways you can go. Centralization's one way to go. Contractors another way to go, and that technical aspect is there. It takes a very technical person to be able to sit there and manage 4 or 5 properties maybe, and take 5 properties that have 28 people working on it and reduce them 5 properties down to 3 or 4 specialty people. And 5 or probably more like 8 specialty people to run what it was taken before, and being able to manage that out and fill orders and backfill orders without people having to sit down and order stuff. There's a lot to it.
Yeah, a lot of automation.
I mean, there's a lot of automation to it, and that takes a lot less people. It's really kind of too long to really even discuss right now the way it all would work and the way that I see it working.
Yeah.
But because you're going to have to reduce staff. Just because you don't have the people that are capable of doing it. One thing that Luma's doing right now is, and which we've always done, but we've kind of revamped it and started it back up again, is having more people like me within the company to go out and help people and train people. We've always did that. We need it on a bigger scale because, it's just like you. If you're working on one of our properties and you're a make-ready guy, right? And you just started there and you're making apartments ready, and you kind of know what you're doing, but wouldn't you like to see me at least once a week to come by and say, hey, how you doing? And walk in there and work with you just a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe show you a different tip, different trick, some way to do something, or maybe you show me something I don't know, right? And just that being out there with people helps. That's motivation to people. That keeps people on the job. Right?
It's real world lessons.
It's real world lessons.
In real time.
Yep, it is.
It's adding a personal touch to it instead of just, hey, sink or swim.
Yeah.
Here's our standards. Here's our goals. Sink or swim.
Yeah, I don't much care for the sink or swim theory. So it's not very good for people. They won't be around long. So.
I agree. Well, you've obviously worked hard to get where you are, but looking back, is there anything you would have done differently in your career? Any lessons you learned the hard way?
I'd have probably gotten the multifamily industry 10 or 15 years sooner than I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably so. I probably wouldn't have spent a lot of time, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I learned from everything that I did.
Yeah.
Each and every part of my life that I went through.
It all builds.
Learning, it was all builds, right? 10 years earlier in the multifamily industry, would have probably something I think I would have done different.
Yeah, I could have skipped the whole decorative concrete part of my life and added that into my multifamily.
But you didn't know, right?
Yeah. You had to have those experiences.
You don't know.
It's a grand idea.
Ask somebody what they'd have done differently is what I can tell anybody that's listening out there, is that if you want a career and that you want to, if you like people and you want to get up every day and enjoy what you do, is to get into multifamily. I mean, multifamily goes even farther than what it is. I mean, we have, Garrett contractor, right? That's you're part of multifamily. There's more to it than that. So there's lots of versatility there.
Yeah, you can be on the owner side, the management side,
once you get in
vendor.
and get started, you can be just about anywhere you want. And that's, I see people go from on site to vendor, and I see vendor side come to management side. I've seen both ways of it. Some people just prefer one way as they do the other. I've seen people go from the management side to the vendor side and say, "Oh, I love it. I'm so glad I got out of it." And I see people get into the multifamily side and they go, "Oh, I'm so glad I got out of the vendor side."
Yeah.
So it's just all about kind of what you want. Unless you try it, you're never going to know.
Well, it's such a big industry too, like we were just saying. I mean, you could be on the owner, the management, investment, vendor, service provider, there's just so many different avenues. And I think the big part of it too is it takes so long to get in and get your feet wet and get established a little bit, that once you do that and you've kind of start seeing things, you may jump from one side to the other, but you still stay in the multifamily industry. You don't see a lot of people just completely exit stage left and get like in a completely different industry.
You're right.
It's still tied, because you're so involved. There's so much
a lot
different
of involvement. There's so much stuff going on
outside of your just normal day-to-day stuff.
And there's so much that people in the world don't even know about how large the multifamily industry is. And I think that's where we market, apartment associations market and all that stuff. But do you ever really see the commercial on the TV that the kid might watch that says, "Hey, do you want a career in life? Get into the multifamily industry and give." So like you go to Buc-ee's, right? What's outside of Buc-ee's? There's a little TP thing there, right? It's got your wage and how much they make, right?
Yeah.
And so for us to kind of sometimes sit here and go, what are we going to do? Because there's people not doing the trades, and what are we going to do? Well, maybe we should
advertise
market it a little bit more in a different way that we honestly do, right? I mean, we do market, but what we market to and what people see are the people that's already in the market.
Yeah.
They're already in that
just
circle.
Those renters.
They're already in that circle, right? Nobody really outside of it sees it. They might see it as a glimpse when they walk by and see something or hear something, but it's not right in their face. And I think we need to put it right in their face more.
I agree with that.
Yep.
You maybe have a favorite quote. I've seen you post some good ones on your different, at times. Do you have a favorite quote?
Don't be busy, be productive.
I like that.
Yeah.
What's maybe you a reader? Your favorite book?
No, I think my most favorite book might have been my senior year annual. That was probably about it. I'm not, reading's just not something that I do a lot of. It's not. I probably should do more, but I think I get enough out of just general mind stuff in a day's time that I really don't.
Well, you're so hands-on, and I think you like the tinkering and the figuring it out on your own.
Yeah, I would rather be, seeing progress in something than opening a book and reading it.
So what are maybe some of your hobbies? What do you do to get away from all that, to relax, to
just go get on a tractor.
Get on the tractor.
Just go get on the tractor and mow, man. Just mow and drag the driveway, make it smoother. Cut up a tree that fell down. Chase a cow when they're out. Clean swimming pool at the house. And watch my kids play sports. That's fun. Watching my kids play sports. Coaching was fun. That was always my greatest hobby, because like I said earlier, coaching teaches you a lot about people. I mean, when I started out with my youngest son, he was 3, and I had a team of 3-year-olds. So once you learn how to handle 3-year-olds,
that's where all the hair went, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's where it went. So.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have the patience to coach 3-year-olds.
That's just it. You might not.
Yeah.
You might not know you do. So you do it.
Yeah.
So that's one thing you got to have too, is patience. Because if you ain't got no patience, you can't deal with people.
Well, it's like knocking out the hardest thing, in the day too. Like, that's why I've recently got into cold plunging at the gym.
Ooh, really?
And that shit is brutal, but you feel so amazing afterwards. But like, I watched some of these guys, like literally today, and the water was 45 degrees. That's the coldest I've seen it yet. And they just opened this at our gym like about a week and a half ago. Mm-hmm. So I've been each day trying to see if I can like get over this mental hurdle, get in it a little faster, stay a little longer, get a little deeper. I mean, it's brutal. But I watched this guy today that had to have been, 65, 70 years old. Mm-hmm. Walked straight from the hot tub, straight in, dove under the water, and went back and forth several times. And then he's splashing himself and everything. Me and this other guy are like literally still standing on the sidelines, like trying to psych ourselves out and already starting all the breathing, trying to like get ourselves ready. But I made it 2.5 minutes today. The first day, I only made it about 45 seconds.
You didn't learn nothing from that man that did that?
I did, man.
What'd you learn?
He's just like, you got to just do it, man. Just
you know what I learned?
Get after it.
That he got out of the hot tub before he jumped in. That's what I learned.
Came from the steam room. Yeah, I mean, the hot tub, like, that would be even worse because it stings a little bit. Because your blood all rushes from your skin to, like, protect your organs and stuff. So, like, and then you've got 45-degree water on you and it's circulating. Yeah. So like it's intense. Like you look like you got a like fresh sunburn for about 2-3 minutes after you get out, because then all that blood rushes back out.
I don't know.
I don't know how you jump from one to the other.
I don't know either. I have no ambition to be jumping into no cold water, but that's just me.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to challenge yourself.
Everybody's different, right?
I mean, there are a lot of health benefits to it. So
yeah, probably so. I bet there is. It's probably definitely good for blood flow. Either one way or the other.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Yeah. It forces everything in and back out. I mean, it's intense. If you could describe your career in the multifamily industry as a movie, what genre would it be, and who would play you in the lead role?
Golly, that's tough.
It's a fun one, though.
What genre would it be? And who would play me?
I'm sure Paul's thinking of who would do the soundtrack.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're going to get that in a second.
And who would do the soundtrack? Paul's asking probably. I'd probably get Paul to do the soundtrack. I'd probably get funny you say that. I'd probably get Ian Mattingly to be me. I probably would.
Get Ian Mattingly?
I would probably get Ian Mattingly to be me. Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be interesting.
Wouldn't that be very interesting? Could you
I
see
can't.
it? I mean, I don't want to trade with him any day. But,
but I can't imagine them making Ian bald. I can't see that.
I can.
Yeah, it would be funny. I think. I mean, it'd be highly entertaining.
Yeah, wouldn't that be funny though?
I think it would be like more like a. I mean, that would be weird. Paul just said Sean Connery.
Sean Connery.
I like where you're going with that, Paul.
Well,
that one could work.
I don't know who I would get to be me. That's a tough question. I mean, there's not. I mean,
just who to play the role.
Just to play the role.
Yeah. What genre would it be? That might be easier. This is gonna be like a Western.
Golly, it would make a good Western, wouldn't it?
I feel like there's some
Probably
gunslinger in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of gunslinger in there. You know, it'd probably be like if you
Us Okies and all, a little known for those things back in the day.
It'd be a lot of gunslinging in it, right? It would probably start way back, way back when, and grow into, a Western growing into the ways that they are today, right? So
yeah.
You start like a long, long time ago. There's a lot of movies.
Take us
out
from
there.
like Little House on the Prairie to
there
now.
you go, right? And just take it all the way into what you're doing today. So anyway, yeah, Western sounds good. Think maybe, yeah, I would go with that. I like that.
What's maybe the craziest or funniest thing you've seen in the multifamily industry? I know everybody has some crazy and funny stories. I mean, we could write books on this.
So funny stories. I can tell you a funny story. Right when I got in the multifamily industry and I started working over at Deerwood Apartments, they'd give me a service request because the lady's sink was stopped up, and I went over there and I knocked on the door, and this little old lady come to the door, and she had her moo-moo on, and she goes, "You must be the new maintenance guy." And I said, "Yeah, I am." And she goes, "Well, I'm Miss Boone." And I said, "Well, Miss Boone, I'm here to fix your plumbing." And she said, "Well, Jimmy, you're about 30 years too late." And that was a funny one, right?
That's good.
From then on, I thought, "Oh, Miss Boone." I got a lot of Miss Boone stories, though. A lot of Miss Boone stories, but just, golly, I've went on service request and knocked on doors and beat on doors, and people don't come to the door and don't have the second deadbolt locked, and you walk in and go in the bedroom because they want their ceiling fan changed out because it's broke and they're still laying in bed, and I've seen them cover up their head and move over a little bit and say, "Go ahead and get up on the bed and change it." And I'm like, "I'm not getting on that bed with you laying in it." Like,
yeah,
I've seen all kinds of things. Like,
yeah,
I can tell you, I've seen a lot of things. I put it to you.
I think one of my favorites was I got an email from a young manager one time that said, "I need you to come look at this bathroom. The tenant is complaining about her bathroom that she meant to say caulking is bad, but she literally wrote caulking is bad."
Yeah,
and
on the service request.
She needs some caulking.
Yeah, she needs some caulking.
And I was like, oh, man. I laughed at it for 5-10 minutes.
Yeah,
that was the 12-year-old in me coming out laughing at that one.
Right, yeah, and that's, golly, one of the craziest ones was, this was many, many, many years ago. This is probably 20 years ago or so, 25 years ago. I walked in to this girl's apartment, and she was over there. She said, "Come on in." She's on the phone. She's just yakking away, right? Yak, and going at it with somebody. And I don't know. I said, "Well, I'm here to change out your faucet, and I have to be careful with the story." So, but anyway, so you can imagine laying under the cabinet changing the faucet, right? And laying there, and still hearing there, she's just arguing away with somebody. And so I'm laying there and taking the supply lines loose, and I'm doing all of this stuff, and all of a sudden I see these legs, and one of them goes on once, because I'm underneath there, and one goes on the other side, and she goes, "Hey," and I said, "What?" And she goes, "Do you see anything wrong with these?" And I said, "What?" She goes, "Do you see anything wrong with these?" So I kind of slide out, and when I slide out, she's got her shirt pulled back. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I just go right back up underneath the sink. And don't say a word, finish doing what I'm doing right. And then she just walks off. I got out of there, and so I go back down to the office, and I said, "I will not be doing no more service requests in that apartment." Like, I'm not gonna. So I've seen, just.
It's crazy. You see all kinds of
some crazy stuff. Like, people just are nuts out there sometimes. So.
Yeah, I remember the first fire I ever went on. This lady had had a fire, and the whole building burnt down, pretty much, and I'm walking with my boss and a client, and we're walking up. It's back when I smoked cigarettes, and we're all three smoking a cigarette, walking up, looking at this, and the guys are already in there doing demo, and there's a big dumpster right outside in the parking lot, and they're throwing stuff in it. Well, this dumpster needs to be hauled off and is like absolutely filled to the brim. And for whatever reason, these guys are in the unit where the fire actually happened, and I can hear them laughing and they're singing. They're having a grand old time doing demo. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, these two guys heave-ho a dishwasher over the balcony and into the dumpster, and it hits that top, and that door slings open, and dildos and vibrators went flying everywhere. I mean, like 20, 30 of them.
Yeah.
Of every kind you can imagine. And we're all just sitting there laughing. I mean, I guess when the fire happened, she had cleaning day going on because, like, they were all everywhere. It was absolutely insane.
Crazy
You
things.
see some crazy stuff.
Seen a lot of stuff, for sure. Yeah.
Looking back at your career, what's maybe one defining moment that made you realize you were on the right path?
Meeting Miss Boone.
Back to Miss Boone.
That just comes straight up out of, I mean, she was just one of those people that it was like the first job the first service request I ever did for a property. You know, I did service requests in houses for people, and businesses for people, but you know, when I think back and I say that, I think, yeah, that was kind of one of the first things that was very rewarding for somebody just to kind of not even know you, that could joke around just like that fast with you, and you could go in and fix something, and they appreciated it very much. So, yeah.
Right on.
I think so.
What's maybe one habit or routine that you've adopted throughout your years that has had a huge impact on your success and maybe in both maybe your personal or your professional life?
Habits.
Habit or routine that
you
feel is really.
Habit or routine. You got to get up early. No time for sleeping late. You know, they say the best work you get done is an hour and a half before you get started, before people start bombarding you, right? That's a very good.
True. I love getting to the office before everybody else gets there. I get more done in that first hour than probably the majority of the day.
That's a good habit. Yeah, it's a good routine. Get up early, get started early, you know. Make sure everything's done before you get done. That way you're not getting up in the morning trying to finish something up, right? I mean, there's always going to be stuff to finish up, don't get me wrong, but just making sure you're answering all those questions, right? You can always plan stuff that's coming, but just make sure you get back with the people you need to get back with, right? Don't leave anybody.
Are you like a big planner? Do you like have like really like try to organize everything, and like do you like have a big to-do list and all that? Or you like a tick off the task
have big
thing?
To-do list.
Do you just keep it all up here though, or
no, you like? I keep some up here, and then I keep some, you know, on calendars where they belong, and you know, things change day to day in multifamily. I mean,
Absolutely.
You could be one place one day, and there could be something else going over the next day, and you're having to move stuff around.
Yeah.
You don't really never know. You know, there's, you know, with my job, it's, you know, anything could happen at any given moment, and somebody needs your help with something, and you got to change gears and switch your day around and change things up. So.
Right on. So what's next? What's next for Jimmy? What do you got goal-wise, or what are you working on doing?
Goal-wise. So my biggest goal is, like I was speaking earlier about, being more of a motivational speaker type, and just doing a little traveling and telling my story, and motivating younger people, and that's kind of what I really want to do. I mean, I've got years left with Luma, though. You know, like I've got still things left there to do to accomplish and succeed in that part of my life. But the ultimate would be finish getting that together and just doing it.
Yeah.
Right? And just doing it. You know, some of that stuff gets brutal. You know, you get to talking about life, you get on stage in front of people and you start talking about your life, you can get tears, and you can
Yeah,
get
it
to
can
a
be
point to where you
emotional.
can't speak, and you can get emotional. So, but people want to see that, right? That's
Yeah.
true, right?
That's
like
real.
I've sat here with you 3 or 4 times, and you've seen it
Yeah.
on me, tonight.
Right.
And you've kind of changed it up a little bit to keep us moving forward. Yeah. And you're very good at what you do, and I appreciate you doing that.
Thank you.
But yeah, but being true and emotional and telling, whenever you're telling stories and stuff is very important, because people really want to see that, because they know you have a passion. Whenever you can be that way, that means it's something you really want to do, right?
Yeah, people want to find things they can connect with, that they relate to.
Yeah.
And if you can make that a part of it.
There's pretty much, I think I can start from the very, very beginning, from the time I walked out the door the first time to walk down the dairy barn when I was 4 years old. And my mom didn't know what I was going, but I went down and met my dad, and she freaked out because she couldn't find me in the house. And I think I can start from there, and everything that's happened in my whole life, from the good to the bad to the ugly and the Western, right? From the good and the bad and the ugly, and tell that all the way to where I am now. And I believe I can motivate a lot of people. So.
That's awesome, man. I hope I get to see you do it.
I think you will.
I want to come check that out, because I know how challenging that is, because I had no real desire to do that in that format, but after taking that class and kind of finding a path with it through my amazing coaches, and one of them I really consider not only a friend but kind of a mentor in that whole arena, Jason, it really planted a seed. And I don't work on it all the time, but I have these moments, and I gradually just keep building on it.
Yeah,
and
that's what you got to do.
Yeah, just taking out little chunks at a time and finding what works for me and how I want to put it together. So yeah, I look forward to seeing what you actually put together and do out there.
It'll be, I think the biggest part of that is that whenever you're finally able to do that, it's more of a relief. It's motivating for everybody, right? And that's what you're there to do. But I think it really helps you as a person grow, right? Because you've literally told everybody everything in the world that got you to where you were today.
Yeah.
And so it takes kind of a lot off people too. And a lot of people should probably spend more time talking to people and visiting people and doing that, especially with kids nowadays. And they should be spending time, spending time with family, spending time with kids, and having those conversations and getting all of that different stuff going, and that's a whole different realm of things we could talk about those. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm happy to talk about as much of that as you want to. I don't want to spill the beans or anything, if you've with what you're working on. But yeah, I mean, I think that's crucial. I mean, that's the whole reason I do this podcast to a big extent, was I learn well from hearing other people's stories, and I like going down those roads and the journey. And if somebody wants to go down that road and be able to time collapse a little bit, maybe not make the same mistakes. And I think, the more authentic you can be, the more you can connect and tell those stories, I think that makes it even better.
Yep, it does.
If you got to leave your children with one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Be honest. Stay true. Don't hold nothing back. If you've got something to say it. And if it sounds like it's going to sound bad to you, figure out how to say it better, but still say it. Stay busy and active, and do what you want to do. Don't do what somebody else wants you to do. Do what you want to do.
Absolutely. Create the life you want.
Create the life you want. Don't create the life that somebody thinks is best for you.
Right on, man. That's awesome.
Yep.
All right. Well, this is the really fun segment we like to do at the end. So since it's called Common Sense the Podcast, we like to call this the Give Us Your 2 cents. So if there's something I didn't ask you, or there's something that maybe you thought of while we were talking that you want to do, or you just want to give people your 2 cents on whatever. I mean, it could be anything. This is your chance to give everybody Jimmy's 2 cents.
My 2 cents? Wow. Where would you start with Jimmy's 2 cents, and who would you start with, and how many people would it be, and which generation of people would it be? I don't know. That question is like really tough, Garrett. Man, I think I pretty much just said it, like about the way you handle things and the way you go about in life whenever you get struggles, and I'll tell people you got struggles in life, then you need to really think about what they are, and if you need help with them, you need to really let people know what you need help with, and if you don't need help with it, then you need to just push forward and get it and get it going and make it happen for you, because nobody's going to do it for you. Nobody's going to do anything. Nobody's going to do anything for you. You're going to either do it for yourself or it's not going to happen. Nobody gives you nothing. Life's not free. Nobody's ever said it was going to be easy. That's another good saying that I used to say, is that nobody never said it was going to be easy. I was carrying 2 5-gallon buckets across the yard, and I was 5 years old, and I could only get them across the ground that far. And I said, Dad, I can't hardly carry these. They said, Jimmy, nobody never said it was going to be easy. So I tell people, I'll give people my 2 cents about nobody never said it was going to be easy, because it's not. And it's all about what you make it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Life in every aspect has its challenges, its obstacles, and get to all go through those.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and I feel like a lot of people, take things for granted.
Yeah.
And
tomorrow's not promised.
Tomorrow's not promised. So you're exactly right.
Absolutely. Well, Jimmy, man, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing your story with us, and sitting down with us. It's been a pleasure sitting here with you.
Yep. I appreciate it, Garrett.
Absolutely. All right, you guys. We hope you enjoyed this show. I've got a little bit of an announcement here. So this was the 99th episode right here. So
99.
We are now approaching the 100th episode. So with that being said, due to who I am trying to get here for you guys, I've had to jump around a little bit and make some things happen, and we've had to reschedule some things. So next week, there is no show. So we were going to do one on April Fool's, but, that didn't work out. We were going to move it to Tuesday on you. So the next show will be on the 10th, on that Thursday, and that will be episode 100. We may be doing it from a special location. We have a very special guest or guests lined up for that. So I hope you guys will join us again on the 10th. Until then, you guys enjoy it. Peace. Be safe.